Okay. All right. Looks like we're live. Just pop that out. That over there. Just set myself up. So I wanted to go and update my testing for the infantry we looked at from 401 to 600 gold. I don't think I need to update my testing from 601 to 900, 901 gold plus. I was really happy with the results when I went back and looked at the 400 gold and under, and I think this will also help stratify the units in there a little bit better. There's a few units that are a little wonky. It is what it is. The unit that I'm choosing to test everything against are great swords because they are heavily armored, armor piercing, anti-infantry, infantry. So they should give us a pretty clear test against that type of infantry, which is a very common infantry in this game, which is armor piercing or anti-infantry type of thing. So I think that'll really help stratify the 401 to 600 gold correctly. Hey Abe, how's it going? Good to see you. So anyways, I'm going to get going on that testing, and let's see, get here and we'll go. There's Total War. So I've got the great swords, and I'm going to start at the gore herds with shields, and we'll just go through and just make sure we are on UT fields. I am the defender, and we can go ahead and start that battle now. Hey, Rourke boss, how's it going, buddy? Just getting some testing done. Yeah, just getting some testing done. Want to update my 401 gold to 600 gold infantry. It's not exactly where I want it to be, as a few units are a little bit wonky, so we want to get this testing done. But anyways, the way I do my testing is I will start the test, and when the units actually collide at, say, 59:51 here, I will go over to the spreadsheet, and I'll put in 51 seconds, 59:51, and that'll be the start of the battle, and then, of course, we'll let it go, and cheering for the great swords, Orca. I like it. I have a feeling they're going to win every fight. So really, all I want to do is make have a very consistent unit to test all these units against. So that's why I've chosen the great swords, because they will beat all of the units in the 401 to 600 gold group pretty easily. But that doesn't mean just because they've beaten them doesn't mean they've actually pulled value off of them. So we look here, the time is 58 seconds flat. So we go back to our spreadsheet and we put in 58 0. So the battle has taken 111 seconds. We look at the finishing hit points of each. So 4,008 greats for the great swords, 408, and the gore herd finished with 1409. So what that does is that will tell us that, let's open this up a bit, that the greatswords pulled 70 gold off the gore herds. So the gore herds with shields lost a little bit of gold in that encounter, and the greatswords were pulling it off the gore herd at 38 gold per minute. So that we do 5 tests so that we can sort of get a good average. I have been doing 7 tests and up to 20 tests, but there's so many tests in this in this group of testing to do that. I've brought it down to 5, but the way I've made the testing more stable is made sure I had units that either always win or always lose for the most part. So we'll just keep going with the testing with the great swords and get that going. Yeah, it should be interesting, the changes. I imagine my beloved dwarf warriors will come away from, I think they're the second position right now, so they'll be pulled off the top, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Abe, pull out gold. That's the part I don't get from all the testing. Okay, so I'm gonna, I will go over that part of it to explain it a little bit better, Abe, because this is the one thing about being an engineer. I mean, I've always had a hard time explaining what I mean in a way that someone who's not inside of my head can understand. And we all do that to a degree when we try to explain something to another person. You know what you're talking about and you know what you mean, but it's not clear to the other person, and if you're not good explaining, you can it can be confusing. So we'll go and I'll show you the exact testing. So I have 57, 55, and I'll show you what I mean by pulling gold out of there. So 57, okay, 55. Okay, so great swords are finished with 39.79, very consistent. 39.79, that's what I'd like to see. Goreherd's finished with 13.98. 13.98. Okay. Inside my head. Okay, so if we look here, Abe. So what I do is we get the testing done, and we start with the amount of gold that the units cost. So the great swords cost 900 gold, and the Goreherd cost 550 gold. Now, when the fight ends after 111 seconds or 116 seconds, I look at their finishing hit points, and I compare that to their starting hit points. So I go 4,008 divided by 6840, and then I multiply that by 900 to find out how much effective value those great swords have left. I know it's a little less because of routing and everything else, and not every unit is unbreakable, and etc., etc., etc. But this is how I do it to get a rough guess of how they're doing. So I take 4,008 divided by 6840 times by their gold, and then I take the Goreherd's 1409 divided by 7200 times by their gold, and then I subtract the two. So when I subtract the two here, I've subtracted the great swords minus the Goreherd's, and the great swords are up 70 gold against the Goreherd in this case. So the great swords have actually pulled, I say they've pulled gold against the Goreherd, which means that the great swords are winning that encounter, and that's how you can find very efficient units. So if we look at clan rats are a very, very efficient unit. You can see up here, these clan rats pulled 125 gold against the men-at-arms of polearms. So the clan rats cost 300. Why do I have men-at-arms with polearms? That's a really weird. Oh no, okay, I know what I'm doing. So they lost every fight. So this is a really good example. The clan rats cost 300 gold. The men-at-arms with polearms have cost 500 gold. Now the clan rats lost every fight against those men-at-arms, but the men-at-arms started with 5,900 hit points here, and they ended with 1,600. So they only had 1,600 of their 5,940 hit points left. You multiply that by that 500 gold, then you take the clan rats, 1,500 divided by 7,200 times 300 gold, and you subtract them. It's showing that the clan rats have pulled a lot of value out of that fight, and on average pulled 117 gold. The way that you could actually back check this or verify it if you wanted to is you could buy an equal number of so if you wanted to buy 3 units of men-at-arms with polearms to get 1,500 gold worth, and you could buy 5 units of clan rats with just the clan rats, and then have them fight. The clan rats will win that because they can go on flank and they can do a lot of other things, but it's because they are pulling value in that fight. Now, generally, that's not it for every case. I always say my testing has, it is what it is. It's very simple. It's only one small piece of the puzzle. Take it with your knowledge of the game and your thinking, but that's how I think about the unit testing, and I want to make it fairly repeatable and fairly straightforward so that everyone who looks at it can understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. You don't have to agree with my conclusions. You don't have to agree that this is the best way of testing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying this is just how I like to test. I like testing like this, and I like to think about it in gold. And so when I look at the gold differential, that's how much gold the greatswords pulled out of the Goreherd, so they are pulling value. That means that is a good encounter for the greatswords to go fight Goreherds with shields, and they're pulling at 38 gold per minute. Now the gold per minute is another one I like because it can differentiate between units that take a very long time to extract their gold and units that do it very quickly, because in multiplayer, not only is the gold that you extract important, but how fast you extract it is really important. So units that and you'll find good players, even though they know an encounter is not a value play for them, they will take that encounter if they can win it quickly, because it's important, because there's other factors, and that's why I like to think about gold per minute. And then gold ratio is a kind of a specialized number that I have, which is looking at how much gold that I have to spend to get this gold. I don't talk about it very much. It's just a number that I like, and I like to know just myself. So Aurora Boss, quality theory crafting right there. Way to go. Testing units. Thank you. Abe Moke. I think I sort of get it. Yeah, it's an Aurora Boss. Gold efficiency is everything when it comes to MP. And really, Aurora Boss, I agree. Like when we start training and going over this, I mean, this is kind of, I know I personally understand a lot of the efficient plays, but I can't make them happen on the field. So, for example, to bring this out, Abe, what this testing will mean in an actual game is, let's say you have two units. You have great swords and you have great swords and you have, I don't know, flagellants. And turns out the great swords win gold against the gore herds, but the flagellants lose gold against the gore herds. So you actually want to make sure the great swords get on the gore herds and the flagellants get on something else. And that's how you start using this information in your build and in your thinking. And to even further that thinking is, really there are some units that show up a lot in matchups and that you can prepare for by trying to pick the most efficient units on your side, at least some of them. And if you look at the Lizardmen testing I did 2 years ago, I tested almost every unit against every unit, and I found the most efficient units in that matchup. And they're not only that, their chevron value to use them at, and started playing with that actual lineup to make sure that I could pull an advantage. I mean, I've said it a million times, I'm just an average general, but I try to pull extra value because I'm an experienced engineer and pretty good at research and analysis. Not that I'm perfect, not that I do it the right way. I don't ever say that. This is just how I like to do it. But I have been able to play above my skill level for a long time because I can do this, because I do this sort of testing. So I punch above my weight, so to speak, because I do a lot of testing and I try to make that happen, even though I can't actually execute really well on the field. So Aurora Boss, it means tremendously to me. Yeah, your test backed up my opinion on a lot of units. Cool. So like I was wondering why those little rats do so much damage, and your test showed why I thought so. That's really cool, Aurora Boss, because I know you've been testing Skaven again. So, and that's where clan rats are. Clan rats are so efficient. And same with Skaven slaves. I mean, you know, we go back to, I think, where's my analysis at 400 and under gold. Like, Skaven slaves are the #1 most efficient unit in there. And, you know, the part of the reason why they're so damn efficient is all they have to do is defend any other unit except for another unit of Skaven slaves from one single charge the entire game, and you've got value out of them. And Skaven slaves can demolish all artillery if they can get back there. You know, and clan rats, again, are the second most efficient unit in 400 gold and under. Like, they're really, really strong units for their cost. And that's really redoing this test actually brought miners with blasting charges up a lot, because those blasting charges are very good if you get them off. And you can kind of see some of the other units that are up there and some of the units that are way down. Like, regular dwarf miners come in 27th. Miners with blasting charges, number 6. A massive, absolutely massive difference those blasting charges make, which goes to the contention that I did a lot of testing and said miners are actually worth about 200 gold, not 325, and the blasting charges are worth 200 or more gold, which is how good they are if you get them off, especially against the right units. So, anyways, that's sort of how I think about it, Abe, and you know. This is how I do my testing. And I know other people do their testing in other ways as well. So, Abe, I think I see how it works. Yep, a different way of seeing it, because my recommendations of armies, I don't have the game yet. For the campaigns, I based them on. Oh, cool. Aurora Boss, another unit is Chaos Warriors, a great weapon. Yep, they're pound for pound the best armor-piercing unit in the game. They're unbelievable. Abe, on their other abilities, traits, and what they're good at and what they suck at. Yeah, see, their traits and campaign, like, this can take a unit from being just okay to being really, really good, because they have a certain trait. Like, Nasty Skulkers are one of those examples. They're actually a pretty good little infantry unit, but you give them their smoke bomb and their stock, and they become a really outstanding unit. Orc Boss, you can go West Eat, you want to make it work one way or the other. Yep. Abe, different, like, or a lot? Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So it is. So Orca Boss completely different. It is. It's like, so here is I'm going to say the main difference between campaign and multiplayer in evaluating units. And I'm not an expert, but I've played a lot of campaign and played a little bit of multiplayer. The difference is, in multiplayer you have 12,400 gold, so you have to make your units efficient as per their gold. In campaign, you have a full 20 stack, so you have to make your units efficient per that 20 stack in terms of what they can get done versus what they cost. So it's you're looking at having the best 20 units that you can use to complement each other within an army at the cheapest cost you can get them, versus in multiplayer you have 12,400 gold, so every pick has to be efficient, particularly when you're considering the faction you're up against. So, all right, so we will continue to do our testing with the greatswords. Whoops. Okay, we go here. All right, end that battle and rematch. In campaign, you can buff a unit with faction traits, lords traits. Yeah, like your whole tech tree is awesome. And MP, really all you have is chevrons. And maybe your buffs from other units and things you can pick and magic and stuff like that. But you don't have as many options in multiplayer for changing a unit. By the way, Orca Boss, I love that game of your Dowie game where you brought up the chevroned spearmen with shields. I love that pick, and I'm going to do another Value of Chevrons video talking about that actual phenomenon where you have a sort of a unit that you want to do something with like that. It's actually a really clever way to expand the roster of a faction. You know, not enough factions do that. Like the Lizardmen, they have a lot they can do, just exactly how you did with that lineup you brought with the Empire. So 57, 59. I also like, so you can see that these results are very, very stable, which is actually quite nice. 34077. That tells me that my testing is going to be pretty accurate for what I'm testing. I mean, it doesn't tell me anything about the conclusions. Yeah, the Gore Herd is 1389. Again, 80 gold. Very, very consistent there. So we'll just keep on testing for a rematch. And MP, everything else. Orc Boss, your 20 stack may be worth 1 million gold, where your opponent AI might cost a penny. Yep. Abe, thanks for the explanation, guys. Yeah, cool. thanks for dropping in, Abe. Do appreciate it. Orca Boss, I actually dislike rank 9 spears against dwarf. Really? So it was interesting that you took them. I saw the concept, and but I'll talk about that in my next Chevrons video, because I really want to go over this, because it's something I haven't talked about at all, because the Dowie don't necessarily need to do that with any of their units, chevron them up to essentially make another unit, where a lot of other factions actually could use that a lot. I don't know if I should do it, because I'll be making other factions that I don't like way better, but you see really good players doing it from time to time, because they have an idea that they want to execute on the field. So I think anybody should be able to understand why to do that and how to pick the units to do it with. So 57, very consistent, excellent. 57. Greatswords finished with 3785, and the Gore Herd finished with 1298. Only pulled 49 gold that time. Okay, end the battle and a rematch. They trade so bad against high armored dwarf low tier units, but rank 9 spears are amazing against certain factions. Yep. It's the same with high elf spears. Actually, they're a 500 gold unit that can extend way beyond their capabilities if you need them to. They got silver shields. Like, they're a really solid defensive unit, but you hardly ever see anyone bringing them. I mean, I know they got lots of other good infantry and stuff like that, but I mean, it's a shame to see a unit that can be so versatile by using chevrons in a faction that could use a little versatility, never being used. You know, there are many ways to approach those kinds of things, and I understand that different. You know, most people will just pick a different unit because it seems easier, but it has to be. There has to be situations where it's not as efficient as possible. Has to be. So 57, 56. Like what I'm saying is there has to be situations where a rank 9 high elf spearman is better than a white lion, right? So 57, 56. But you just don't see a whole lot of rank 9 spearmen. You see just someone will just bring a white lion instead because they're about the same price. Okay, greatsword's finished with 40, 41. 41, and the Goreherd's finished with 1312. So greatswords pulled a total of 69 gold off of them, and this is again why I love look at it from this perspective. Like you think you're looking at the greatswords beat up the Goreherd. They're worth 900 gold, and the Goreherd are worth 550. The clan rats lost to the men at arms with polearms. They're worth 300, 500. But in a battle, the clan rats were actually more valuable. They pulled 117 gold off of that men-at-arms with polearms, where the greatswords only pulled 69. And this is where I get into the gold versus gold ratio. The gold ratio is they had to spend 900 gold to get 69 gold, and their gold ratio was really, really high here because they only had to spend 300 gold to get 100 gold. That's why that's just how I like looking at that. But rank 9 spears are amazing against certain factions. Oh, you bring them all the time, Rourke Boss? High elf spears are by far the best infantry on their roster. Far better. Cool. You'll have to send me a game. If you get some more games where you have some sort of rank 9 or higher ranked chevroned up units so that I could use that in my next chevron video, I'd really appreciate it. I definitely will use that one video you already sent me with the Empire, because I love the idea. But if you have an actual one where using rank 9, because like the units that I see are like rank 9 spears for the high elves have to be good. Same with rank 9 Saurus warriors with shields. They have to be good, you know, like in certain situations, because they're a great unit as they are, but there is no big armor piercing unit above. Yeah, there's Temple Guard, but Temple Guard, you know, there's going to be situations where 1,200 gold Saurus warrior with shields is going to outperform a Temple Guard at 1,200 gold. And those situations, maybe they're few and far between, but they have to exist, right? So, okay, so the greatswords, and this is why I put approximate corrected value in here, Abe, because what I like to do is at the end, just for reference sakes, in this matchup, the greatswords, even though they only cost you 900 gold, they're worth about 969 gold when you're fighting just Goreherds with shields. So that's sort of a back check. I just like to see that number when I'm testing. Okay, so next is the Goreherds. So I think this will probably all be the same. So we'll go and grab the Goreherd, so end that battle. Okay, end the battle. Okay. And the Goreherd are again, they're like, you can predict how a unit is going to go most of the time, and this is one of the things that this testing has pointed out. Some units that don't follow a logical prediction, and I do like to point those out because I think those units need to be fixed. So the Goreherd here does have this Primer Fury, which is really good, but doesn't have armor piercing, and you know has good melee attack, not great melee for defense. Like obviously, I think, you know, based on these stats, we'll see what the Primal... Do these guys have Primal Fury? Yeah. I think the greatswords will win that, but we got to see. Now, these Goreherd did get buffed up recently, and they are quite a bit better than they have been, so we'll go see. Greatswords suck. What a downfall. You know what? That's the game one and you talking, Aurora Boss. I know greatswords were crushing infantry in game one. They were like the pound for pound best in game one. Now they're pretty good. They're not OP anymore. So a lot of people say they suck, but they suck compared to being OP, but they're about where they belong. So you can see the greatswords doing pretty good in here. Goreherd not doing not too bad. We'll see if they can pull. Really, what they need to pull is they need to bring their greatswords down to about 3,500 health, maybe 3,000 health before they're going to pull value. And I don't think they're going to do that. Are they going to get them to 3,500? Maybe. We'll see. All right, they got them to 3,575. We'll see. We'll see if that's enough. So 5808, 5808, and greatswords finished 3,575. And the Goreherds finished with 1222. 69 gold, I guess. They're gonna have to get them down to about 3,000 before they can actually. Let's say it's 3,575. I'm just gonna go 3,575 so I don't forget it. But what do they need? 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 gold. So 3,575. Copy V. Okay. So we'll go back here and keep that battle going. Rook Boss. I played games where greatswords lose to Goreherds with shield one. Oh, with one of the Laura Shadows wind spells, really? Yeah, that's why this is always just one small piece of the puzzle, because there's so many ways to buff your units. There's so many ways to change an engagement with magic, or just your alignment, or whether you're downhill, uphill, in water, in woods. Whether your unit is tired or active. I mean, there's a million different modifiers to change the outcome of this battle. So this is a very small piece of the puzzle, but it's just the kind of testing I really enjoy doing. I find it very relaxing, actually. Oh, there he goes. He's going to get him down to 3,000. There you go. Look at them. Look at them go. Very, very nice fight there from the Goreherd. They're definitely going to pull some positive value against the greatswords in that. So 57-53. 57-53. And the greatswords finished with 25-96. 96, and the Goreherds finished with 979. Yep, Goreherds pulled 40 gold off the greatswords there. So this is going to be an interesting fight to see who actually pulls value out of this fight. Goreherd are actually doing pretty good if they can actually get on the right side of that value proposition. Okay, so end that battle, rematch. Work Boss, like 6 wins of magic and 550 gold, crushing 950 gold. Yep, that's some BS right there. You know I'm with you on that one, Work Boss, because the Dowie have no magic. And it is a regular thing where other factions can bring magic and change the tide of a battle from 300 meters away. You don't even have to be in the close vicinity to do it. All the Dwarf Lords have to be within 30 or 40 meters to affect anything. Yeah. I hate magic. No, I hate it. Just like a good dwarf should. Down to 3,500. Yeah, it's going to be close. Nope. So it looks like the greatswords won that one. 5805. 5805. Greatswords, 3378, 3378, and the Goreherd, 1082. 1082. Yep, they won that one. And it's interesting, I was talking about the clan rats and the Skaven slaves. One of the things that actually makes them powerful is they rout early. So that when they can come back too, that's kind of I think good Skaven players can take advantage of that. When they come back, they can actually come back in pretty good numbers because they rout so early. Yeah, Rune of Wrath and Rune is decent. I agree. Now we have something better than magic gunpowder. Ha, Abe. Huh? You're speaking to me right now. They do. Gunpowder is better than magic. Magic sucks. Gunpowder rocks. No, I got to think of a better saying to that. Gunpowder rules. Magic drools. Something like that. All right. Okay. Yeah, this should stratify this group out a little bit better, and it'll change a few of the key units in here that were overperforming because of the nature of the testing. So, I think once I'm done this will be sort of the set tests, because I mean, it'll be sort of every unit will be tested to 15 times against 3 different units. I think that's going to be pretty good. Because I don't know how much that, like, it's one of those things, like, if you wanted to, you could test every unit against every other unit in the game in every configuration and every lineup. And, you know, it would take you infinity from now to the end of the universe to get that done. So there's got to be some way to try and make models to predict how good units are in certain situations. And that's what I'm actually trying to do. Is I did have a call for some concepts in modeling to talk about the sort of the best in slot or slot efficiency, and I'm still working on that. I mean, it's just sort of in the back burner. It's like, you know, I'm so busy with work and all kinds of things that I got a bazillion things I want to do, so it is back burnered, but it is what it is. So 5808. And I do want to up the stats list, and there's so many things I want to do. Okay, 3, 2, 2, 1. 1 and Gorherds. 3 Gorherds? What do they finish with? 1068. 1068. Okay, so that's yeah, looks like the Greatswords are going to win that handily. Gorherds sort of 1-1 value matchup, but the Greatswords are doing the rest pretty reasonably. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the Greatswords do against those Night Goblins with Fanatics. Like, those Fanatics are insanely good. Now, I've seen some other people talk about they're also insanely hard to use. They sort of like a micro trap. And I agree, but oh man, those Fanatics are unbelievable how powerful they are. And they got 3 uses of them. Like, if they could ever get 3 uses of them off, I mean, it could freaking double their value easily. It's just that's sort of like gyrocopters. Why gyrocopters are really, they're pretty solid, but man, they're a micro trap when you try and bomb things and shoot things and everything else like that. So 5811. 58. Whoops, 11. Why is it doing that? Okay. Greatswords finish with 3598. And Gorherds finished with 1178. Well, there you go. So the Gorherds did better than the Gorherds with shields. And this is how it should be. This is something I do talk about a lot, is how units stratify. You would think that a Gorherd with shields would have to give up something to get that shield in terms of its competitiveness in an infantry engagement, and in this case it does. It gives up some value. This is saying against Greatswords, that shield is costing the Gorherd about 30 gold. You know, which is exactly how I think that it should stratify. So men-at-arms with polearms. Okay, now these men-at-arms with polearms, I believe, are 500 gold now. So exit that battle, and we'll go over here. These are 600, right? Yeah. And so we get the men-at-arms with polearm, Bretonia, and they are men-at-arms polearm 500 and 5940. I'll just double check. 500 and 5940. Yeah, I still have some of the old numbers in because I originally did this testing in November 2018. So some things have changed since then. So these men-at-arms with polearms have been reduced in price a little bit from 525 to 500. So we'll see how they do against the Greatswords. Now, Greatswords have 95 armor. Men-at-arms with polearms do have armor piercing, but they're an anti-large. So gyros are always a good pick, LOL. Yeah, Aurora Boss, because sometimes your opponent might risk not bringing anything to deal with them, and it's free win for you. You know, sometimes, Aurora Boss, I agree, like every once in a while you get in a game where they just have no answer, and you can do whatever you want with your gyrocopters, and it's unbelievable. And I've seen some games like that. It's crushing. Rune of Abe. Mostly the magic the dwarves have are buffs like Master Rune of Steel or Master Rune of Hearth and Home. Yep, that's the right. Hearth and Home is correct. Abe, or like Urubah said, the Rune of Wrath and Ruin. Yeah, the Rune of Wrath is like a mini Buna. Yeah, mini faded Buna. Abe. And their natural magic resistance, but enough gunpowder and machinery. Who needs magic? Agreed. But enough gunpowder and machinery. Who needs magic? Abe, yeah, true. Gyros are really good. Urubah. The Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin can demolish half HP of an infantry unit. Yep. I mean, it's really good, but that's what it's really priced out a lot of the lords, because they can't bring that same value into the fight as a Rune of Wrath and Ruin. I mean, it's so good. You only need to get 2 Master Runes of Wrath and Runes off in the right unit to pay for the Runesmith, the Rune Lord rather, to make it so that he's going to get all his value. You know, you only need to get 2 of the 3 off. You get all 3 off on good targets, and you've got all his value just in your Rune of Wrath and Ruin. You know, you don't even need to, you know, anything he does to fight and everything beyond there is just nice. And it's the same with the Runesmith. You get all 4 of his off, you've got all your 680 gold back easily. So, I mean, it's hard not to pick those units, right? Because they're just so, they have so much value they can generate. 5726. 5726. Oops. 5726. I think it was 50, but we will double check. And the great swords finished with 5120, and the men-at-arms polearms finished with 1307. Oh, there you go. Pulled 164 gold off of that fight right there, and that's what should happen. A men-at-arms, an anti-large unit with charge defense against large and armor piercing should do terrible in an infantry fight, and they're doing that. Abe and the gyros, as long as there aren't flying units, you can basically not worry about them. Yep. And they can hit and run. You just have to watch range unit. Agreed, Abe. And that's one of the nice things. Like gyrocopters, if you shoot somebody with them, they get the hit by artillery debuff to their leadership, and then you can rear charge them to get another minus 14 for charge in the back leadership. And if you hit them with the Iron Drakes, they also get a hit by missiles debuff and a burnt debuff. You can essentially, within a matter of a few seconds, drop the leadership of any unit you choose by 40 points. It's unbelievable. You have multiple gyrots. Brimstone guns are going to kill single large flyers, basically cut them to death. Yep. It's not micro-intensive. Put them in skirmish mode in AFK. It's okay. Yeah, they're fast too, Abe. Agreed. They're a good little unit. I find it incredibly hard to control them. Okay, rematch. All right.
Great swords for Skull Splitter.
Yep, I think the great swords are a good pick here. They were given pretty consistent results, which is really good. I mean, they're going to run across some units. They're going to give some weird results, but I mean, every unit does. You do this enough, they always find some weird things happening. I'll say the men-at-arms with polearms definitely stick around for a while. You know. Oops. Okay, 5747. Looks like they're going to take the lead for the how long they stay. 5370 for the great swords. $14.33. Yep, great swords pulled 186 gold off of them. And this is a good example of value versus utility, is that you might actually know that men-at-arms with polearms are terrible against greatswords, but still send them up against greatswords just to hold them back for a little while. Well, so you can do something with the rest of your army. And that's why this testing is always a piece of the puzzle, and a small piece of the puzzle at that. Okay, in the battle, and we'll rematch. Dwarfs are made to burn, roast, and shoot anything to death. That's right, Abe. I agree. an axe everything to death too. Rook Boss agreed. Dwarf gameplay is very straightforward, and they do their best in controlled formations. Yep, Dwarf is about infantry formation control, and this is one of the reasons I love Dwarves. I mean, I love everything about Dwarves. I mean, I have since I've said many times. My very first Dwarf character was in D&D in 1983. I played a Dwarf cleric, and I had a blast. Loved it, and ever since then, I've been my inner Dwarf has been on the outside. You think the men-at-arms would do a little bit more damage to the greatswords because they do have that armor piercing. Melee attack 22, and the greatswords have terrible melee defense. Not terrible, it's only 30. The men-at-arms, polearms just don't get a lot done. Well, this time they're doing a little more damage than the last two matches, but still not wonderful for sure. Okay, so 57-27. They hold for a long time though. 57. Whoops. 27, and greatswords finished with 47-59. Much better showing for the men-at-arms this time. 1238. There you go, 122 gold. Still not great, but better than they have been doing for sure. Okay, rematch. Yeah, Rook Boss. My friend used to joke that dwarves are 80% about what you bring to the field, 20% how you play it out. I agree. And it's funny is depending on where you are in skill level in any game, it becomes more and more like that. Where you have, I think the better the players are, the more like that it is, meaning it's really what you brought and what your opponent brought, because if you have really good top-level players playing against each other, the margin of victory and defeat gets to be more and more the differential between what you picked and what they picked. Because, you can always bring sort of a gambit army, you can change your build, and et cetera, et cetera. I think when you're sort of just an average player like me, you come across a lot of players that have a lot of different builds, and your builds are still important, but how you play becomes even more important. I mean, I have plenty of games on file and that I've casted of my own where I'll leave a unit literally standing 5 feet away from a unit it could be killing for a full minute. Happens to me all the time, and that's definitely something I really want to correct. I want to get better at managing my army. Just so I can always keep them doing what I want them to be doing and finding good matchups. It's intensely difficult for my mind to sort it out as the battle rages, So 57-33. 57-33. Okay, great swords. 52-98. 52-98. And men-at-arms with polearms, we've got 13-93. 93. Okay, and one more fight. We look like rematch. Orc Boss. When greatswords have 21 charge bonus and both front two rates can have an attack animation, they're god tier. Yeah, I agree. That was the same with Black Orcs in game 1. I don't know if they still have both two front roads have animations, but it was ridiculous. Abe, and play defensively with them. You're not going too fast to any place with 26 to 28 speed. I agree, unless you're fighting the undead, where sometimes you're faster than them. That is so true. There was one game in my whole playlist where I did kite an undead unit. It was really glorious. It was glorious. I loved it. It was against a vampire coast, I think, and I got to kite like a zombie or something. Zombie pirate deckhand mobs with like a dwarf warrior. It was completely awesome. It was the slowest kite ever. Rook Boss. Yeah, I agree. The higher level players, the more accurate results you're going to get from what you pick. Yep, that's true. Rook Boss. I agree. Abe, men-at-arms with polearms are getting murdered by the greatswords. They sure are, and they should, right? This should happen. The greatswords are an anti-infantry unit, armor piercing. The men-at-arms with polearms are an anti-large unit with armor piercing and charge defense against large. So really, they should actually do very poorly in this kind of testing, which means that they're correctly costed and statted for their infantry engagement. Now, in an anti-large engagement, they would do way better than greatswords because they have charge defense against large and anti-large, etc., etc. 5735. Yeah, like where we do find the weird units are like Savage Orc Big Guns are crazy good because they have anti-large, plus they're amazing in an infantry fight. I mean, they're an all. I think they're like for orcs greenskins have tons of fantastic infantry. Big Guns, the Savage Orc Big Guns might be the best of that lineup, even though there's so many good infantry in their lineup, and that's saying something. So 4773, 4773, and the men-at-arms 1206. Okay, so we've got here, pulled 155 gold. Like the greatswords crushed the men-at-arms with polearms and pulled a ton of gold out of them, which is what should happen. I really do like seeing that, and that's where you get to see proper stratification in the listing. Units kind of ending up where they belong. Okay, so we have Battle Pilgrims. Now, Battle Pilgrims, I mean, where did they show up last time we did the testing? Oh, Battle Pilgrims. Number 20 out of 25. Like, Battle Pilgrims, unfortunately, should show up higher. They're an infantry, but they do have a shield. I mean, maybe they shouldn't show up as high as some other units, but they should show up at least sort of middle of the pack, I think. So, Battle Pilgrims. We'll go get the Battle Pilgrims. So I think Battle Pilgrims used to be pretty good, or were at least good for a little while. And then they got a big buff, and then they got a big nerf. Okay, Battle Pilgrims, 650, 600. Okay, are they 6210? Battle Pilgrims, 6210, perfect. Get them fighting. Men-at-arms form getting okay. Orca Boss. Rangers and Slayers are fast. I have a lot of game with flanking Slayers doing work. Yep. A K-Pub 44. I'd send Clan Rats to die gloriously to Greatswords any day. That's my kind of thinking there, K-Pub. I love watching Clan Rats die. Okay, we'll get these guys going. I'm just going to check my initial time. Boom. Yeah, it is 5950. Do I got that? Yeah, 5950. Copy V. Okay, and we'll let that go. Orc Boss. Orc Big Guns are not really a strict anti-large. Yeah, they're just the meaner orcs. True. They do have an anti-large bonus, though, I believe. The recent leadership buff really helped them out a lot as well. Yeah. Yep, see you later, Abe. Ciao. Okay, 5824. Damn, I was sure they had... so 58... Just wait, one second. 5824. Great Swords finished with 4531. And Battle Pilgrims, 1136. Yeah, Battle Pilgrims got crushed there. 186 gold they gave up on that. Okay, I'm just going to go see. So in the battle, where I thought the Savage Orc Big Guns also had an anti-large bonus. I could be wrong though. Where are they? Savage Orc Big Guns, 800 and 900. Yeah, they have a bonus versus large of 8 and 13 armor piercing. Like, this is why they're so good. They have a bonus versus large of 8 and 13 armor piercing, which is pretty good. They have tons of health at 8100. They do have 25% physical resist. They have frenzy, so they're immune to psychology, plus 8 melee attack, charge bonus, and weapon damage. 34 charge bonus, which is really, really good. Like, Savage Orc Big Guns are unbelievable right now. They're really, really good. Okay, we'll get back to Bretonia. Okay, Bretonia. Where are these Battle Pilgrims? Battle Pilgrims. Like they do have frenzy. Like, I think Battle Pilgrims are intended to be sort of a cheap unit mop up or something. but they just like they got less stats than a swordman. A swordsman at 400 gold. 'Cause I think a swordsman is 32 and 32, right? So you look at the Empire, swordsman. Yeah, basic swordsman 32, 32, and 28. So 32 melee attack, 32 melee defense, and 28 weapon strength. And the Battle Pilgrims 32 melee attack, 31 melee defense, and 32 weapon strength. So for 200 more gold, it's really rough. That is a pricey unit for what you get. And you get a Battle Pilgrim has higher leadership, but definitely a stretch, I think, to call that worth it in any sense. Pilgrims are just so bad. Boss. Yes, they used to have 60 leadership. Really? They used to rout from a Griffin charge. Oh my god.
Great swords! Now!
Okay, so we'll get that going. You know, they're still just like they don't have a niche in the Bretonnian lineup, which is part of their problem. Like they really like what unit do you take instead? Like what unit would you bring a Battle Pilgrim instead of? They don't have a place because they're not good at anything, right? If they maybe get encouraged, like here's the one thing: if they had, on top of all this shitty stats, if they had encourage, you might bring a 1 of, you might bring a 2 of in a lineup of the Bretonnians or something like that. There's many ways to make them more interesting. I mean, that may not be the best way, but there are many ways to make them more interesting. So 58-20. 58-20. Great swords finished with 43-29. And Battle Pilgrims 1115. All right, 162 gold in that rematch. Oh, they used to route from a Griffin charge. The Savage Big Guns, really? Okay, 60 to 68. Yep. K-Pug. The Pilgrims kind of have a loose formation too. Yeah, that's true. They do. I guess they do have shields, and it does make them a little bit better against, missile pressure. But I don't know. Like this is a loose formation for 90 units. This is a tight formation for 90 units. Like this is only very slightly bigger. But it would be better against missiles. That's 100% true. Okay. Pilgrims kind of, yeah. Aurora Boss with 68 leadership there, just enough to stay in there and kill everything. I get it. So that leadership, really 8 leadership was just enough to get them over the top. That makes sense. Because now they're like, I had a game where, who was I can't remember who I was playing, but I was obviously playing the dwarfs against the greenskins, and they brought like 6 Savage Orc big guns, and there's nothing I could do. Just couldn't handle it. They just put so much pressure on my line. I mean, it was a long fight. I guess nothing I could do. It was a really long fight, and I came reasonably close to pulling out a victory, but I mean, that's a ton of pressure. And they're only 900 gold as opposed to the Black Orcs, which are 1100 gold? 1050, 1100 to 1150, somewhere in there. So 5820. One other 5820. We'll see if we get stats the same too. Nope, Grape Swords 4608. I've had it 3 times now where I've had 2 tests that given exactly the same stats, and the thousands and thousands of tests I've done. It's happened to be 3 times now. Okay, Battle Pilgrims. So the randomness, or the random number generator is pretty good, is what I'm saying. 986, because I do pretty standard testing. I would expect to see that a little more frequently, actually, but I don't. Okay, rematch.
Ready for war! Formation! March! Brace for impact!
Be right back, having lunch. Enjoy testing, Sue. Thanks, Orc Boss. You have a good one, eh? There we go, 58-21. Very consistent. 58-21. Yeah, bad units tend to be really consistent in how fast they lose. So, 42-16, 42-16. And Battle Pilgrims finished with 960. And Great Swords. And that battle and a rematch. Yep. Oh, you're going to leave the stream on in the background? Get to hear my silky Canadian voice. All right.
What do you bid?
Keep on fighting. I think this is the last fight. I mean, it's like the battle programs look good. I mean, I love the models. They look really cool. But they don't really perform. I don't know what exactly they need to get them just the point where they're going to be useful, one of, two ofs. Maybe they're never going to make the main battle line, but it'd be nice to see them be useful in a few matchups. 57, 57, 57, 57. Okay, Great Swords. 36-73. Holy, that last one they did very, very good in. 999. And they still lost 87 gold. So here we go. It's interesting. The men-at-arms with polearms ended up losing 155 gold, which is terrible, but expected because they're an anti-infantry versus an anti-large unit. The Battle Pilgrims are not an anti-large unit, and they lost even more, 161 gold. That's how bad Battle Pilgrims are right now. They're in a really bad spot, I think, compared to what they should be. Okay, and that's all caveat that I say is, really, I believe Battle Pilgrims should be sort of at least the middle of the pack in an infantry fight. That's my thinking, anyways. Is because they don't show any anti-large. I mean, they do have a shield, so they should be sort of middle of the pack, no higher. But they're just. I guess they have immune to psychology. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so we're in that battle. Okay, and so what do we got next? So Battle Pilgrims are done, and Chaos Marauders with great weapons. Interesting. So there we go. So we'll go to Chaos. Where's Chaos? And Chaos Marauders with great weapons. 500. Is that right? Chaos Marauders with great weapons. 500. Health 70-20. Yep. So we'll start that fight. Now here's an example where the Chaos Marauders with great weapons should do pretty good. I mean, relatively speaking, right? Because they are armor piercing, and great swords have 95 armor, and they only have 15 armor, so the great sword's armor piercing capability won't matter as much. So they should, maybe they're not going to pull positive value because they're sort of a low tier unit, but they should do much, much better than the Battle Pilgrims and units like that. Then they have a decent amount of health. Off the charge, they have 21 charge bonus. That's actually pretty good. We'll see how they finish out. Okay, so 58-45. Battle went fast. Whoops. 58-45. I'm going to say that was a 50. Copy. And the Greatsword's finished with 4369. 4369. And the Chaos Marauders finished with 1859. So, I mean, the Chaos Marauders only lost 42 gold in that. They're sort of matching with the Gore Herd right now, ish. We'll see how they continue to do. I just want to save that. So don't lose it. K-Pub. Well, I'm not surprised if they're near the bottom of the list. Yeah. Have you played K-Pub? Have you played with Battle Pilgrims? Yeah, Marauders are going to do much better. You're 100% right, and we'll see it. But yeah, Battle Pilgrims are they're in a really bad spot. Like in this, units like I advocate for units, even though they're not dwarf units, to be buffed when they're in a bad spot. And here's the reason: Everyone who plays multiplayer right now, who's been around, who plays any Bretonia, doesn't pick Battle Pilgrims because they know they're bad. This is a sort of a new player trap, where they'll say, "Oh, a Battle Pilgrim, shielded, sort of mid-tier infantry, good leadership. They'll be good in an infantry fight, and they'll pick them, and they'll lose worse than they should because they picked a unit that should perform better than it does." And that irritates me, and that's one of the reasons why I like this testing and I do it, is because you do find these units that really truly need to be a little more intuitive, especially for new players. Like, experienced players get it. You just don't see Battle Pilgrims, so why would they bring them? They're terrible. Maybe there's a niche mashup where they're really good, but I don't know what it is. Mind you, I'm not a Bretonian main either, right? So rematch that. K-Pub, I agree. I don't play them, but I don't face Battle Pilgrims ever in my games. Yep, I never see them either. You don't see them in anyone's cast. You don't see them in any games. I mean, the only place you're gonna see them, K-Pub, is if you were playing someone who's brand new, really, they're not only gonna have a struggle playing against someone who knows what they're doing. They're gonna struggle because their army's terrible, because they pick units that should perform way better than they do. And I think it's really unfair to new players. Units should be at the very least intuitive enough so that a new player can catch on quickly. These units that are clearly not correct or not right or just wrong, like Battle Pilgrims, need to be addressed, I think. There's not a lot of units that are like that, but there are some. Okay, 5847. 5847. And great swords now 3469. Oh, it did really good there. We'll see what they pull. Marauders, 1943. Marauders pulled positive gold against the great swords there. 82 gold off of them. Really, really nice. Yep. We said we'd expect them to do quite a bit better in this matchup for, everything we talked about, and they're doing quite a bit better in the matchup. They don't have armor to pierce when they're getting hit, and they are armor piercing. So this is sort of as good as it gets. This is as good as it gets for the Chaos Marauders, the great weapons, I think. I mean, I don't see these guys a whole lot, but you do see them sometimes. I mean, they have niche matchups, and they can get a little bit of work done. I don't think they're an amazing unit, but they're also not atrocious. Okay, 5856. 5856, and the great swords finished with 4254, and that is 1928 for the Marauders. 1928, 22 gold. It's going to be really close, I think. Chaos Marauders have to win one more. They have to win one more, and then that'll kind of get them over the top. All right, what time is it? Oh, this will probably be the last test. Okay, get in there and fight, boys. I'll zoom in for a little cinematic. That looks all right. Like, Chaos Marauders look really, really. They look very good. Like, they're a really beautiful artwork, and they've done them so well. I really need to do more cinematics in my battles, because I really do like it. Oops. Okay, we'll just let that go faster. Like, it's hard to believe how beautiful some of these models are, and those Chaos Marauders are great weapons. Have they been around since the beginning? They may have. I don't know. 58, 51. You never see them because, you don't see them very often because Chaos Warriors are great weapons, are the best unit in the game. Best armor piercing unit in the game, pound for pound. 58, 51. And great swords, 42, 67. Marauders. 1991. 1991 is a good year. All right. One more. Rematch.
Great swords!
Get in there, boys.
My God, Maraz!
Yeah. Chaos Marauders have to do really good in this one if they want to get their value. 42. They got to get them into that sort of 3,500 range, I think, right? I don't know if they're going to do it. It'll be close. 3,600. We'll see. This is going to be really close. So it might end up at 0. 58. Ah, shoot. 58.44. And they got him down to 36.18. 36.18. And Chaos Marauders finished with 1,900. Boom. There you go. Chaos Marauders pulled a net of 11 gold off the Greatsword. So very, very, very close. Very close. That's cool. I didn't know the Chaos Warriors Great Weapons was that good statistically. K-Pub, they're unbelievable. They're such a strong unit. And yeah, the Battleground Pilgrims were trash. So I'll just show you real quick K-Pub over here. Might as well go over to the 601. So Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons are the #1 unit in the 601 to 900 gold range. And they're #1 pound for pound armor piercing unit in the game. They are incredibly strong all arounders. They're a great unit. I think they're the unit most. I think they're the unit most responsible for Chaos being a very, very stable faction all around. A really good faction. You know, because they're just so darn good. Okay, so I think that's that. So we've got minus 11 gold. Aspiring Champions are next. Now here's Aspiring Champions are going to do really poorly on this, you know, but we'll do the testing. Their Aspiring Champions are actually really good at clearing trash. They're very efficient in some of the things that they do, but they're quite poor against armor piercing infantry. But I never did test them the first go around. Really, the very first go around, I just had to just dream that I would get all infantry tested versus all infantry. It took me a year to do it, but I finally got it done. And you know, now I just want to clean up the original testing to make it more in line with the last bit of testing, so I just can be happy with the body of work. Where there's still going to be some goofy things in the final analysis, but at least it's going to be generally a reasonable piece of work in and of its own. In and of itself, really. So that's good, and that's that. End the battle, and that will be that. Oh, hey, Abe, back. What'd you miss? We just did the testing for the Chaos Marauders with Great Weapons. The Battle Pilgrims were terrible. Chaos Marauders actually pulled a little bit of value off the Greatswords, which is really good. But yeah, that'll be it. I think I'm going to call that a night. I just wanted to get on and do some testing. I do want to get this testing complete and the videos out sooner rather than later. I have a few real fun things upcoming in the near future, which I think you guys are going to love. I'm really excited, you know, and hopefully it can make look forward to a trailer coming out. Well, I think I'll make a trailer and try and have some fun with an upcoming series that we're going to be doing. But yeah, I'll be back in testing on this. I want to finish this up again within the next week or so that I can get it out and be really just... This has been gnawing at me for, 6 months to do it. So now I'm finally going to get it done. So anyways, that'll be it for the night. Thanks everyone who showed up. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon.